Welcome to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. I'm your host, Jill Perrick, mindset coach and imposter syndrome expert, and I'm here to tell you that imposter syndrome isn't a life sentence. It's just a dysfunctional way of thinking. If you feel like your ideas are unoriginal, that your message isn't necessary or important, or like you're a complete and total fraud, then you've come to the right place. Time to kick your inner imposter to the curb and create life-changing results for you and your clients. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the From Imposter to Empowered program. I'm your host, Jill Perrick. I'm a business mindset coach, and I specialize in imposter syndrome. First of all, what's going on with me? I always hear other people giving life updates on the podcast, and I'm like, I very rarely give life updates, and if I do, they're really short. But essentially, what's going on? I'm just in a season of my business where really coming into profiting. I'm going to talk about this in this episode because this is the road to 250,000, so the road to $250,000 in my business. And last year's revenue is a factor that I would love to touch on a little bit. But now I am coming into a season of my business where I'm really profiting a lot. I'm keeping my expenses low. I joined DL Sharon's mastermind. It's supposed to be scaling to 250,000, but it's technically scaling to $500,000. So I joined that with her. It's the Liberation Mastermind, and I think you have to have created $50,000 in your business. But I'm really excited because DL is somebody who I've worked with for years. Her and I are really good friends. She was my very first coach, my very first business coach back in 2019. She had to pull fucking teeth to get me to join her program. She just knew that I really wanted to, but I was so scared. And I think I paid her like $50 a week or something, like $100 every 2 weeks, like something like that. It was like such a low payment plan, and I paid her for like 8 months, even though the actual group coaching program was only for 4 months. But anyways, it just all has really come full circle. She is amazing. She's an amazing business coach, and I'm so happy to be under her wing and to be in the mastermind with such amazing women who are changing the game. And I have always said this, and this is what I really think is true, especially because I have the Worthy Woman method, is that like you need to get in the room. You need to be surrounded by people who are doing this online space thing, who are online and selling services online, and it's just a different way of thinking. It's a different way of being. I had a lot of blocks and thoughts about the online space and what the fuck I was doing online and all these other things, and just it really helped being around people that knew what I was talking about and had the same struggles as me. It was very transformative. Anyways, so I'm in that mastermind. Something that's happening when you're listening to this, it's going to be mid-September, but it's actually going to be my dad's birthday, I think, when you're listening to this, September 15th. So if that's when this episode is, happy birthday, Dad. Thanks for the entrepreneurial drive. Yeah, because he's an entrepreneur too. And I love my dad, but we definitely butt heads because we are basically the same person, and we butt heads because he is like not into the mindset thing, not into therapy, not into any of those things. So it gives me a lot of insight in therapy when I understand why my brain works the way it does, especially because I just think everybody should go to therapy and unpack their childhood. I had a great childhood, but I think it's really important to talk about the micro trauma or the things that may have happened that were traumatic to you. I think sometimes when we talk about trauma, it's such a loaded word, but trauma to me, it really means like something just like unexpected that took you off guard and like affected you deeply and imprinted an emotion or a belief onto you as a result of that experience. So how did we get talking to this? Oh, because I said happy birthday to my dad. But I love my dad. We have a really good relationship, and I know that he is definitely like off-put by my success in the online space. I'm sure, I think I've even said this on the podcast. He would call me and be like, don't put swear words on the internet. Don't talk about your income, all this stuff. And I'm just like, Dad, you just gotta trust me. And now look at me go. Like, see, Dad, I was right. And he just rolls his eyes. Anyways, just unpacking my childhood trauma with you guys on the podcast. What's new? But another thing that's happening is, like I said, when you're listening to this, it's mid-September, but when I'm recording this, it's like the second last week of August, and I am going for an ADHD assessment on Thursday. It's going to be the first appointment, and then there's like a test and 2 other appointments, and I think it's really important just to talk about that because I have always thought that I was neurodivergent. I never really knew how to clarify it or how exactly to explain it, But TikTok really opened my eyes, and I was like, oh, so it's just that my brain is different and that like I'm not fucked up. I'm sure you guys can relate to that too. But yeah, so I'm going for an ADHD assessment, and I'm really looking forward to that, just to kind of understand how my brain works, and if I do get diagnosed, what the treatment plans are. And it's just like very exciting. And I think that we should talk about these things because mental health isn't talked about as much as it should be. And I think mental health as a successful woman, I think, should be talked about as well, because if I do in fact have ADHD, I am so impressed with myself. Not that I'm not impressed with myself, and we'll talk about that too in this episode, but like I'm impressed that I have been able to have the success that I do. I got 2 university degrees, including a master's. I have so much certification. I am a really successful coach. I make a lot of money online. It's just like non-standard, and I'm just excited to understand my brain more if I do have it, and how to like use it to my advantage so I can feel even better and like really help myself grow into a $1 million coach. So that's my update. That was kind of scattered. Like we said, happy birthday to my dad. I talked about ADHD. Like, is that really my life update? Other than that, just living life, doing the Liberation Mastermind retreat. When you're listening to this, it's already happened. In the Worthy Woman Method, we are doing a 2-day virtual retreat inside of the method, which we're going to be doing a day of mindset and a day of business. I'm so excited to bring that to my beautiful clients, and it's just going to be so good. So, road to $250,000. First, I was thinking about this episode. I'm like, I should really do an episode about this because I really want to be as transparent as possible. And I wrote down like lessons. And the first lesson that I have here is like believing that I created this money. So in the beginning of 2020, I ended January. Somebody had just paid me in full for one-to-one coaching package, and she was my only client I had signed at that point. I had signed a couple others in a mastermind that was starting in February, and they all coincidentally paid in full. So I got like $6,000 randomly at the end of December and then in the beginning of January. And then I had this client sign on with me for 4 months, and she paid in full, and I think it was about $4,000. So I was finding out what it felt like to make money. I was finding out that, oh, I can be paid online, but it was nowhere near consistent. It was very new to my system. I didn't know what to do with the money. I also had a ton of debt from investing back into my business, and that didn't end at all in 2020. I really invested a lot into my business in 2020. But in the beginning, I was like, what is this business? Like, what am I going to do with this business? And then we go into 2020 and the pandemic happens, and I get sent home from work. And that was around the end of March. My 28th birthday is on the 21st of March. And I had just been sent home from work, and they were like, okay, you're going to be off for a couple of weeks. Like, we'll see what happens. And I got sent home with a laptop, and there you go. And unbeknownst to me, we would not be sent back to the office. I don't even think they're back yet. I think around the time you're listening to this, I think my full-time job, I think they've all started to transition back to work. But like in March of 2020, we thought the pandemic was going to be like over in a month. I had a trip to go to Mexico at the end of April, and I was like, oh yeah, it'll for sure happen. That's hilarious. Anyways, so I was sent home from work, and I was like, okay, sent home from work, I can actually start to like do things in my business during the day. And I think it's okay to say this now, but I did spend some of my workday on my coaching business stuff. And that's not great, but it really blew my business up. So the ability to go from one laptop to the next, to be able to jump on stories in between meetings and stuff like that, it blew my business up. Like I was able to devote more time, more intentional time, and it also helped me solidify the belief that like, oh, I could do this full time. I started to see the money. I ran a mastermind with my friend Julia. I was doing passive courses, all that stuff, and I was creating a lot of money. So by the summer of 2020, I had my biggest month ever in June. It was almost $17,000, and I had a bigger month in January of 2021, on my way to hitting that again. Like I'm nearly there, and then the next goal is 20K months. So that was a huge shock to my system. Like all of a sudden making like $15,000 a month versus I was so used to making $3,000 a month just for my full-time job. Like it was a huge shock to my system. And 2020 ended, and I just felt so exhausted and burnt out. And that is honestly the truth. I made $130,000 in 2020, and that was fucking amazing. Like, I am so proud of myself. I learned so much about myself. I learned how to sell better. I experienced so much inner growth, but I was also really, really, really tired. And I actually took off 12 days during the Christmas break, and that was amazing. But then I came into 2021 being like, okay, I created all that money, but I created so much money from launching every month. And I also had a coach who really favored having a ton of different offers. And to me, that meant I needed to make my audience problem aware of new things all of the time. And I also was launching every month. So I felt exhausted, and I just wasn't sure how I wanted to run my business. And as you guys know, I've been talking about how I hired a private coach, Catherine Morrison, and that was at the end of January. We had our sales call. I put down the first deposit in the beginning of February, and we had like a 2-hour intensive, and then I started working with her in March, and we have just finished up. We just stopped working together, and she changed my life. She really helped me dig up so many thoughts and beliefs about my audience, myself, all the stuff that we do inside the containers that I provide, but I needed that for myself. Like, I needed somebody to just flip everything I knew about being an employee and instead turn me into thinking like an entrepreneur and all of these things. And one of the things was that I didn't think that the money I made in 2020 that I could do it again. I thought that it was a fluke. I thought that, oh, it was because I sold a ton of shit that was low ticket and all this stuff. It's hilarious how I used to think, like not even 6 or 7 months ago, that I couldn't sell high ticket. Like, what a lie. Like, I absolutely could. And listen, guys, in April of this year, I had my lowest month in like a year. So I made $8,000 in April of 2020, and then it was just a steady incline from there. But I also hired a team. So I hired a huge fucking team, and I really jumped the gun on that because I have learned now that I was just trying to like outsource my belief. And I've talked about this before. I was trying to hire an entire team so I didn't have to do all this work that I thought I had to do, when really now my systems are so simple, so easy. I have 2 offers, and it is the best that I've ever felt. And this is not to say that this is the way that you should run your business, but I was just so tired of launching every month. I was so tired of having so many different offers, and I really needed to coach my brain around selling 2 offers. And in April of 2021, I had my lowest month ever. I think it was like 4 or 5K. And I was like, oh my God, is this a good decision? Should I simplify my product suite? Like, is this what I should be doing? But I stuck with it. I worked on my mindset so much over the past 6 or 7 months. I dug deep into the beliefs that I had about myself as a business owner, into my services, into what I want to do, all of these things. And it really is what led me here. And when I'm recording this, it's August. And in the first 7 days of August, I made like $10,000. And I had that realization. I was like, oh my God, the inner work works so fucking well. And I know that it does. But like, I am a very impatient person, and I am somebody who wants things to happen right away. So that can sometimes stop me from taking the inner work action because I want it to have an immediate result. And I've really learned how to overcome that in the past year and a half. And as you guys know, like, I left my full-time job with no savings, like no nothing. I just left my full-time job and said, I believe I can do this, because I knew deep down like I could. And in that, there was so much inner growth and so much things that I learned about myself. And I just feel like a completely different person. So the work that you do as an entrepreneur is so important in terms of your mindset and the beliefs that you have about yourself, about the online space, about your audience. They're all important. The thoughts that you are having as you open up your Instagram page, that's an important thought. Like, let's look at that, because all of your thoughts and all your feelings are contributing to the strategy that you're employing. So I had all of these offers because I was telling myself I need to launch every month. I had all of these offers because I thought I can't do the same group program over again. I have to create something new. But instead, now my philosophy, especially within the Worthy Woman Method, which is my lifetime group coaching program for coaches and service providers, is to simplify your business in that you are repeating your processes. You're doing the same things over and over again. You're making your audience so aware of you and how you change people's lives, and you're consistent in that you're selling the same thing. You are simplifying your process so you don't feel like you're launching every month, or that you are tired, or that you need to do something new, because that will really get you into that scarcity, nothing is ever good enough mindset. So the main point of me telling you that big story about 2020 and how it affected me in 2021 and how I'm like coming off of it now is like, I had to believe that I created that money in 2020 and that I could do it again, even if it looked differently. That who I was on a fundamental level, I was the moneymaker, not the offer. It was me. Me and my thoughts and my beliefs can create that money over again and even more. And I am slated to do more than 2020. So that's really exciting. I kind of touched on this, but my next lesson is like simple is better and more effective for me. My brain, my possible ADHD dopamine deprived brain, loved the chaos and loved something new and loved focusing on something new. And then I learned that that was my avoidance of looking at the things that weren't working in my business and just fine-tuning and improving them. So I learned that simplicity is actually for me in terms of having the same offers and just making them bigger and badder and better and selling them over and over again, picking up the results over and over again, improving on the processes, creating trainings and resources that my clients can always benefit from. And that is where the Worthy Woman Method was born. I wanted to do a membership for the longest time, but I knew that if I was going to run a low ticket membership, I was going to end up spending all this energy and all this time doing so much work for a really low ticket price, and then I wouldn't be inspired to actually do the work. And that's where I had the idea of doing a lifetime access program where it's high ticket, but once you're in for life. And it really helped me develop this amazing community of clients who I get to know so well. They get to know each other so well, and they trust each other, and they love each other. And simplicity was best for me in that regard. The next thing is how I was quantum leaping by doing the same thing over and over and over again. And collapsing time is just doing things in a way that refines the process instead of starting all over again, because you're collapsing time between you doing the work and the results that you see. And that's kind of how I see with the Worthy Woman Method is each time I launch it, my audience gets more and more aware that this is a thing, that this program is a thing, that people are coming to Jill for this specific problem, imposter syndrome, and she's helping them resolve this with the Worthy Woman Method. You have probably heard me say it a million times. If you follow me on Instagram, you hear me talk about it and my clients and their results all the time. So I quantum leapt by doing the same thing over and over again. And I think in the online space, it's very normal to see people launching new things, new programs, new products. I'm pivoting into this new niche, blah, blah, blah. And I think we forget that there can be a different way to do business. So a way that I was able to collapse time again in 2021 like I did in 2020 and really speed up, amp up my income again was through just simplifying my process and trying over and over again, launching over and over again, but refining the process, looking at the gaps, looking at where my belief and my thoughts were feeding into the strategy that I was employing. So if you're listening to this, you may be having kind of like a light bulb moment that you have been trying new things and doing a new program and doing all these things, and maybe, just maybe, you're craving the stability and the consistency of a simplified business, a business where you can have the same offer and sell it over and over again and just make it better and better each and every time. You get results for your clients over and over again and being known for that. The last thing I have here is meeting the relationship between setting big goals and being happy with what I achieved. Again, I didn't want to take credit for the money that I made in 2020. I didn't want to look back and see how much growth I had. And when I actually take the time to do that and realize how far I've come, I mean, I left my fucking job. I never thought that I would do that in a million years. So when I look back at all of the things that I've accomplished as a result of my hard work work and my belief work and my thought work and my tenacity and commitment to just constantly improving myself and feeling better and working towards healing, I'm really proud of myself. And I think that we should be proud of ourselves more often. We should focus on being proud of ourselves every single day, being grateful to ourselves every single day, indulging in ourselves in that way, because we're the money makers, we're the creators. And if we create from a place of self-love and abundance and gratitude for ourselves, like imagine the beauty that we can create, imagine the lives that we can impact, and meeting that relationship between setting big goals and being happy with what I've achieved. So what I mean by that is being happy and being grateful and like seeing how far I've come, while also setting big ass goals for myself without being disappointed or without the fear of being disappointed. Because I used to not set big goals because I was afraid of being disappointed, afraid of not achieving them. But in reality, it was just because I was afraid to have the feeling if I didn't hit the goal. And once I realized that that was really just anxiety and past experiences with disappointment, and that it was really just a feeling that I needed to move through, I continue to set big goals for myself, and I just fine-tune as I go, because I know that the whole point of me setting a goal is the person that I'm becoming in the process of setting that goal. And I know the whole point of setting a goal is the journey to becoming the best version of myself, to have a happy life with my partner and our future children and a beautiful house and to travel. And I had to realize that there's no award for hustling. There's no award for me suffering through growing my business. Like, what's the point of me growing my business and making this money if I was miserable doing it? And I really had to lean into, how do I want to enjoy my life right now while at the same time setting goals and growing my income and having the best business possible and helping my clients achieve their results? How can I focus on that and be happy at the same time and be content with where I am and think that everything else is just extra? And the episode that I posted last week about towards and away motivation, I have to constantly remind myself to be towards motivated. What's the whole point of all this? Why do you want to grow your business? Why do you want the money from your business? And it really is to feel calm and content with my life, to have those peaceful moments, to feel purposeful, to have a mission, to travel when I want and have the freedom that I want, and to create generational wealth and generational worth for my family and for my daughters and for generations to come, and to create a more conscious and awakened world where we focus on mental and emotional health, and those things are most important. So that was a little scattered, as is my brain, which is okay. But that is the road to $250,000. It was rocky. I learned so much about myself, but it really feels like I'm in such a good direction and in such a good season right now. And I also want to remind you, because this is a little bit of a longer episode, and I think that is just a testament to life being long and this business journey being long, in terms of it's never over and you're constantly working on new things and new thoughts will come up. And I think sometimes we have a very final way of looking at things, in terms of we think that our lives are going to be over or our business is going to be over if the next launch doesn't go well, or if this doesn't work out, or if this client's not happy. And you're just going to continue to keep going. You're just going to continue to keep going and keep working. And that's why it's so important to consistently do the inner work on yourself and remember that you are having a human experience. So emotions are fleeting, they come and go. The way that you're feeling will come and go. The way that you're thinking will come and go. And you are going to have really, really sad moments between the happiest moments and really, really happy moments, even during the sad moments. And it's all good. It's all good. It's all okay. And you are safe. You are loved. You are infinitely supported. And I am nobody special. And I was still able to create this for my life. And you are alongside with me. So again, that was the road to $250,000. I love you guys so much, and I will see you next week. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. Check out the show notes to get started on your free 3-day challenge to overcome your inner imposter. Once you're done listening today, screenshot this episode and share it to your Instagram story, tagging me at YourCoachJill so I can share it on my page. See you next time.